Noting that Ghana is about to have the general and regional elections on May 11, 2015, as a political scientist and a very active person in the political sphere of Ghana, what is your general view on the election thus far?
Oh, well, first of all, I would have to say that these elections here on the 11th are very crucial for this country. Mm-hmm. The elections on the 11th will decide, I think, which direction this country goes in. Mm-hmm. Because you either go on the present course we've been going on for some time, especially since 2011, or you go on the new course that the opposition parties are articulating for this country. And the reason why the election on the 11th are so important is because since 2011, we've had this problem of a minority government. A minority government, a majority parliament, and a minority executive. It is my considered opinion that in 2011, the people of this country haven't voted for the two opposition parties more than they did for the ruling party. Common sense would have told you that they really should have been running the affairs of this country, but that didn't happen.
Yes.
We've had a minority president running, because you know in our system the executive president has a lot of power in this place. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing wrong if a minority president runs the thing. The question is whether he believes he's minority or if he accepts his majority. That's the real critical question. That's right. And in our particular case, since 2011, the president and the ruling party, they've refused to accept that they really did not win the last election. And because of this refusal to accept what all of us know, what the real results of the elections were, we've had this problem. This failure to consult, this failure to compromise, this failure to listen to anybody. And that is why eventually, as you know, the members of parliament had to invoke 106 of the Constitution in no confidence to have them removed. And even then, they failed to do simple things that the opposition had been demanding: procurement commission, local government elections. They have a view that these are like favors granted to somebody. These are not favors. Okay. The local government elections are a requirement of our system and the Constitution. Mm-hmm. And they think it's something that they're granting the opposition, and the grant. Mm-hmm. And of course, the procurement commission is a requirement of the Constitution. And it ought to be done long ago.
That's right.
And they have this notion that this is something to grant. Mm-hmm. And that is why we have this problem. And that is why these elections are so crucial, because you really don't want to continue that kind of gridlock and deadlock and all this stubbornness. It's stubbornness that cannot be justified on any ground whatsoever. And government cannot run like that. Government cannot run like that in no part of the world. First of all, you're not the majority. You behave as if you're majority. You don't want to talk to people. You don't want to listen to people. You don't want to compromise, and so on. And you want to violate the Constitution all the time. And that is why, in my opinion, the people of this country now have a chance on the 11th to say whether they want to continue like that or they don't want to continue like that. The question here now is very clear. It's very clear, the elections on the 11th. Very clear. It has never been so crystal clear for a long time. You either want to continue on this beaten path or you want to change. That's what it is. But very simple.
Yeah, one of the arguments that the incumbent, even at the campaign rallies, have been putting out there, that they have been what they consider one of the most transparent government. They operate with democracy and there is good governance.
No. That is a complete falsehood. That's a complete falsehood. The facts don't support that contention. We talk about the democratic world. We talk about democracy. This country has no democracy here. The National Assembly has been shut down by the invocation of the executive president. Since July 10th, the last time they met. So you could have a country running without a parliament, running without accountability, And everybody in the executive running amok. That's what they're running. And you talk about democracy. Well, there's no democracy there. And this whole question about local government elections, they have so many years to do it, and they just refuse to do it. It's as simple as that. So forget about that. We talk about democracy. That cannot be supported. And we talk about good governance. We see it in the run-up to these elections. Every day, for those who read papers like me every day, you're sick. You get sick in your stomach reading about this run-up to elections. All the same with the cable and DAX and these contracts, the billion-dollar contracts in the Georgetown Hospital and the Ministry of Health and the whole Ramrook corruption and all this. Well, we talk about governance. What are you talking about governance? It doesn't exist here. Not here. Not here. I would say that the governance here, if you look at the behavior of this executive, I would say it's poor. Piss poor governance, what they talk about. And democracy, this country is running without parliament for a long time. And we know the whole thing about spending money.
That's right.
The matter went to court already. The judge gave a ruling that they failed, that they violated all the rules. Billions of dollars spent without accountability. The Constitution here is clear, whatever you may say about it, in the 216. Money in this country cannot be spent without the authority of the National Assembly, period, full stop. And they run the thing as if the thing belongs to them. We see the whole racketeering with you take the money from the sale of the GT&T shares and you take this money, you want to build a hotel with it for 58 million US. Who's approving all this thing here? Who's approving all this thing here? 58 million US is a lot of money. All these things ought to have gone to the National Assembly for approval. It doesn't go there. And you wake up in the morning and you hear the cabinet secretary speaking that this done and this done and done already. There's no governance here. There's no governance here. There's a total contempt for the Constitution and for the rules, the basic rules that they're supposed to live by, especially when it comes to the spending of money in this country. 216 of the Constitution is pellucid. That is, you have to have parliamentary approval. Spending the money like if it's their money, because it belongs to them.
We noted that the opposition leader, Brigadier David Granger, in his pronouncement leading into the elections, he spoke about raging wars, 6 specific wars. Your views on this?
Well, I heard the presidential candidate speak about the wars in his presentation at Critchlow on Labor Day. It appears to me that I will listen first of all, I'm a citizen, and then I'm a commentator and analyst. Those wars have to be waged.
You agree with that?
Yes, essentially. And I don't know if it's because the candidate is a military man that he talked about war, but maybe you really need to put it in that kind of context. We need a war against crime in this country and corruption. Absolutely, absolutely. No doubt about it in my mind. And you take a simple thing like piracy in this equivalent. The Brigadier speaks about it a lot. We have not been able to deal with it. You need to wage war to get a handle on some of these issues. We need a war on poverty.
That's right.
We have people here, I was thinking about it. I think about these things all the time, as you know. There's a lot of poverty in this country, in the midst of a lot of wealth. And the inequality, the gap between the rich and the poor here. And you have what they call the working poor, a lot of working poor. You're working every day. Right. Where you're a teacher, nurse, policeman, soldier, public servant, and carrying home at $50,000 a month. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? To get a laborer now on a construction site to mix mortar, and then you pay $4,000 a day, he ain't coming nowhere, and that's tax-free. And you want to tell me you want to pay a teacher and a nurse and a policeman and a soldier $50,000 working poor. Well, at least them working with the rest of them ain't working. This country full of poverty. You need to declare war on poverty. There's need to declare war on poverty, war on unemployment. There's no real reason why we should have all this unemployment. This is a big, rich, powerful country with a small population.
Yes.
All of us should be rich like the people in Kuwait and Dubai and them places, big, rich country and small population. There's absolutely no reason why our people should be living in such poverty and marginalization. You have marginalization of large sectors of the economy. I would say the entire public service are working poor people, in my opinion, except some of them who get the special contracts.
Yes.
Some of them getting $1 million a month, like my farmer friend Lumumba and them. It's totally ridiculous. And then you have marginalized communities. One of the problems in this country, we have neglected communities. Because I would say much of it is deliberate. Much of it is deliberate. There is no real reason why, in the way government spends its money, we couldn't have a better spending throughout the country. The last budget, the 2014 budget, $190 billion. And you look and see how it's spent. It's definitely a case can be made out and can be proven irretrievably that there is a neglect and marginalization. And we'll come back to this question of Linden and all the promises to Linden where you're going to get and you won't get it. They don't mean it. I don't think they mean it.
You don't think so?
They don't.
All right. But
and so on. And the question of jobs for the youth and so on. And we see the whole story with the presidential candidate speaks a lot about education and the University of Guyana. The University of Guyana, the way it's been treated, is a total disgrace for this government, or they treat the University of Guyana. Absolutely. You find all this money to build a hotel and sitting there, and you want to tell me you can't find money to the only university in this country? I don't believe it. It is an indictment of this present administration of they've dealt with the University of Guyana. And generally, I would say, with education and the social services and the health services, because their children really don't go to the public school, you know, I don't know that, they don't go there. And of course, when they're sick, they don't go to Georgetown Hospital either. And it tells you, the ruling people themselves don't have confidence in the service that they claim that they're providing, and they come and say, no, we're providing one. And the whole question at the end of the day boils down to one of credibility. Boils down to one of credibility. In my opinion, they're not credible. A lot of them, of course, you know, they're my old friends and so, but they're not credible. They haven't done what they set out to do, what they should have been doing. They've been distracted. They went on a certain track to accumulate wealth and so on. And that's why they're not credible. When they come to the election now, they should really be coming on their track record. Why they should be re-elected. To come abusing and cussing people and fear-mongering and race-baiting, they have to come on your record if you want to be re-elected. The other people, they can come with a lot of promises that they want to get in the government.
That's right.
I could understand that. But when you're the government, you've been here for 23 years, you have to come on your record. There's nothing else you could come on. All this fear-mongering and race-baiting, all of it is unacceptable and ought to be rejected. That would be my position, watching the whole thing, how it's developing.
Very well. In wrapping up, because I know our second part, we will deal in depth with the manifesto of both the AP and UAFC, and of course the People's Progressive Party Civic. But the PPP is calling on Guyanese to re-elect them based on what they have in the manifesto, promising them a better life than they had before. Just a slight in depth on their manifesto, and of course on the next program we'll get in depth.
I must tell you, I took time to count the promises in the PPP manifesto. I'm sure I'm the only person. And I counted 602 promises in the manifesto. A lot of it we've heard about before. A lot of it is pie in the sky, and a lot of it, a third group of it is sheer nonsense. There's a part in the manifesto that's clearly hilarious about e-health, where a doctor could come and visit you at home. I found that quite hilarious. But they come back again, they're recycling a lot of old ideas. Since President Ramtar came to power in 2011, he has not put forward a single idea in this country that I could think about. They keep talking about some Milo Falls and some specialty hospital, and all this nonsense is being regurgitated all the time. But how does the Marriott, well, the Marriott is open way too, how does that help you or anybody? How does that help a nurse or a teacher? And you tell me you got a big Marriott. There's a lot of old ideas, there's no new ideas down there. No new ideas there at all. And they had all these years to do it. They talk about the road, to let them the road from here to there and there, back there. Why didn't you do it? Exactly. The question is, why you didn't do it? Who prevents you from doing it? They blame the opposition for not stymieing, the word they use a lot, stymieing development. The opposition didn't prevent them from doing the road to Latham or the road to where the hell they want to do it. The road to Corey Brown, the Flip Motilal Road, was entirely corrupt from beginning to end. The opposition didn't prevent them from doing that. And a lot of these things is totally corrupt, and they did not come for the approval, including the famous cable and all these things. And they keep, I think the blaming of the opposition is groundless, and in a big project like the Mila, the opposition had every right to put their foot down hard on it, because the Mila is coming at 900 million US on the capital, or 1.2 billion US on the interest for 20 years, on our 60 megawatt. Bad news. Should have been stopped long ago. And of course, the anti-money laundering, which they blame the opposition for. The government is not serious about anti-money laundering. It's all their friends doing it. Their friends doing it. I don't think the brigadier got a single friend who do them things. But I do believe, and from moving around, the anti-money laundering law has to be revised and represented, of course, in time. But blaming the opposition is groundless, and the opposition had every right to stop all of it. Because this is a minority government you don't want to consult. They should have stopped it since 2011. They should have stopped it since 2011. But then, it stopped for the time being. And that is why we need the election. That is why the elections are so crucial. Do you want to continue with a minority? I really do believe it's a minority government behaving as majority and don't want to talk to the people who are the real majority in the place. That's what I believe. And I'm hopeful that this campaign here, the voters in this country get a clear-cut choice. A clear-cut choice. And all who believe, who are happy with the thing, they could go right ahead and vote for them, in my opinion. But the choice is clear. The choice is clear. After all these years, whether you want to continue with this travesty. A minority government operating as a majority, don't want to compromise, don't want to do it, don't want to consult with nobody, and all this stubbornness.